What does this mean for us? The current situation, of course, the president, or would I say the re-emergence of Donald Trump in the White House?
Well, the re-emergence of Donald Trump in the White House is a mixed feelings, and I, I was going to say cautious optimism, but I'm not sure there is even any optimism there, other than everything about US.
Mm.
In the past, there is still consideration for the global welfare. US was like the big brother, watching and taking care of others. But in these 4 years of Trump, I think we should bid that goodbye. That's what it looks like. Everything is going to be about US. We can't blame him, but from our home part, we should have minimal expectation from Trump's
Administration. I need to turn to Badamasi, also having to do with Donald Trump, because you talk about SDGs and the goals that you're passionate about that. Now you have America pulling out or withdrawing from the World Health Organization. What does this mean?
Wow.
To us, to be precise.
For me, I think being passionate about SDG, I think is a setback. It's a great setback to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goal in 2030. And we've seen that in the withdrawal of the US from the World Health Organization. We've seen that in the issue of climate action. We've seen that in the issue of maintaining the zero emission and all of that. We've seen that in the pulling out of the climate agreement of Paris. So for me, I think it's a great setback, especially for the SDGs and the attainment of those goals. It's quite unfortunate.
So is it to your tent or Israel now, or Nigeria, as it were?
Well, I don't think Nigeria should have too much expectation from the Trump administration, because let's take a look at it. The last time he was there, we really did not do anything with Trump per se. The best we had was something he gained from us, the Tucano. He sold us the Tucano, and he was very proud of it. He even celebrated when it was signed that the Nigeria was buying Tucano from the US. So other than that, I don't really see anything. Most of during the Biden administration, we really did not have any significant benefit from those administrations. So I think we should look elsewhere and make the best out of whatever we can get from there.
Maybe make the best of maybe a partnership with BRICS. Would that be the way to go?
Beautiful.
Okay.
Great.
One thing I've also noticed with Trump and US generally,
We need to wrap this up.
They don't really flow as an entity Nigeria, but they recognize a few Nigerians for their own interests. So we can have individual expectations that they will still look in the way of Nigeria for human resources.
Right.
But for Nigeria, I beg you.
Of course, you have that story on the Japa and the health sector in Nigeria. We'll probably get to that in the course of the program. But let's start with it. Let's start with the economy. Quite a number of stories tied to the Nigerian economy. But let's say we're moving on because we started already. You have on the front page of The Nation, our plan to restart oil production in Ogoni. That is the president talking there in terms of oil exploration to restart in Ogoni. Of course, you have some groups already kicking against this. You have those who are asking for a certain amount of money for the cleanup of Ogoni land and the likes. What are your expectations in terms of what the government wants to do, especially with exploring oil in Ogoni land? We do know the story of Ogoni land, those who fought for their land in terms of to clean it and the like, and what eventually happened to them.
Yes, I think the Ogoni issue is something that for me has taken too long a time to resolve. Just like the president said, reading his speech, what has happened. We can't turn back the hand of the clock. Lives have been lost, but we can make the best of the situation we have right now. I think the government should start from implementing the cleanup of Ogoni land. I think that would be a very good point to start. We've seen Vice President Yemi Osinbajo kickstarting that process during the Buhari administration, but I don't think much of it has really, there hasn't been that real impact. So this government must show a commitment to cleaning up Ogoni land, and I think that is a first point of start. When they are able to achieve that to a great extent, then the people of Ogoni will be convinced that there is a need for us to go further with exploration of crude oil there. Then the other aspect I see is that, you see, this happens to be one of the pivots of the president's attainment of some of these lofty goals he wants to achieve in the economy, because he's looking towards the reactivation of the Ogoni mines, and if that is achievable, then the oil production of Nigeria will go up, and then that will create more revenue. I think it's a step in the right direction, but the cleanup needs to be done first.
The cleanup needs to be done first. Talking about the cleanup, you still have those where we're exploring oil presently who are complaining about the state of their lands, the state of their rivers. Even those who we're exploring from right now are still complaining about, the climate in their own end, or the situation, the soot in the air, and the likes. So how much of expectation should we now place, or believe should we place in this administration being able to actually assuage, the concerns of those in Ogoniland?
Well, I agree with my colleague, and I would just want to add that the approach of the government is a bit, faulty. They didn't approach it from the interest of the people of Ogoniland. They were approaching it from the perspective of increasing revenue. It is wrong. It is very, very wrong. Yes, you need to clean up Ogoniland. But why don't you approach it from the perspective of, look, you people, you have been deprived, your land has been bastardized, we want to revamp this land. We want to take care of you people. Their reception and warmth towards the agenda of the government would have been different. Oh, we want to immortalize Sarowiwa. We want to do this, do that for you, which we know the government has wherewithal to do. But they are looking at it that we want to start exploration in Ogoniland. It's going to bring out the trauma they went through. It's the same goal, but the approach could have, been a lot better. Yes, that's it. They are not approaching it from public relation perspective. Okay, we are looking at your own interest, and these are the things we want to offer. Not that we want to start exploration, which is, we want to make money from your land again, even though we have left you for about 30 years or thereabout. No. That approach is wrong. Government need to be more, there's what we call emotional intelligence. You have to factor their feelings, their own perspective into it. That government is all powerful, yes, but you can't just bulldoze your way to everything. You have minimal resistance when you talk from the perspective of the other person's interest.
Of course, he has asked that they work together. There should be negotiations. The NSA will coordinate the negotiations.
Yes, there should be negotiation.
That would happen.
Yes, there should be negotiation.
And I think the president also mentioned something you mentioned in terms of the PR. He mentioned the fact that, considering the fact that some of these things that have been done cannot be undone, that's referring to the loss of Kensaruwiwa and the Ogoni 9 and all of that. But that as at this time we can make the best of the situation and then do a kind of rehabilitation. And I think the past governments in the past have not really done well for the Ogoni people. I think they ought to have addressed some of these issues and not wait until this time. I hope that the president will do the needful and get things done properly.
Well, you see some positives coming out of this if we're able to go ahead with the exploration.
No. I think just like Ojasobo said, exploration is not the first thing. The first thing is let us face cleaning up the land. 1, 2, considering maybe some kind of recognition for those people who were. In fact, the president went further to say that some of your sons were together in the trenches when we were fighting for democracy, and some of them lost their life. He said some of those that are here today were part of those with who were together in the trenches. So it tells me that the president knows and he understands what needs to be done. So I would expect that as we go forward, he would do the needful.
Of course, still tied to the economy, it is the story Ogun and Oyo to have, or the federal government has approved inland dry ports for both Ogun and Oyo. Of course, for that of Oyo, it'll be around the Monia axis and on and on and on. That was according to Oyetola, that is the minister in charge of marine and blue economy. What does this mean for people in the States?
Well, I personally am excited about that. For first, my excitement has to do with what we have in the dry seaport, the container terminal we have in Monia right now. Now, the thing is this. One of the things is going to do, because when you have what you call a dry port, it means there is a point of clearing of goods and even exportation and importation of goods. It means that some of these goods will come straight from Lagos all the way by rail to these places, and it can be cleared from there. And we have something like that also in Kano, which is already functional. And I think we need to expedite action on some of these projects so as to facilitate and kind of revamp our economy. Oyo State, as far as Southwest is concerned, I mean, Ibadan especially, is one of the most vibrant in terms of the economy. After Lagos, we'll be talking of Ibadan. So if that is the case, it tells me that Ibadan needs such a port because it serves as a link to virtually every other part of the Southwest, be it Ekiti, Ondo, Kwara, and the rest. So it takes the pressure off Lagos, and a lot can be done here and achieved here.
An interesting one there concerning that story, but it's another story I'm bringing to you, Ojasope, and that has to do with the Minister of Budget and Economic Planning saying the economy is on the right path of full recovery. And of course, the economic reform of this administration is working. Would we say this is so? Considering, for instance, the first two stories we just took, one having to do with the exploration of oil in Ogoni land, and of course another having to do with the dry ports, inland dry ports, the move by the federal government to activate this in Ogun and Oyo State.
Well, if you're looking at in terms of revenue generation, we can't fault this administration. So if the indices they are looking at is how much they are making, then they can boast that the economy is on the right track. But if Mr. Gbadamosi and I and you, we are looking at our own purchasing power, how much we were buying items and what we are having now, we might want to disagree with the federal government, because the average Nigerian might differ with government on that statement. But the truth is, looking at the paper and what we have been saying, we know that the revenue collection, the revenue generation of this administration has been considerably boosted. So with that, we give kudos to the federal government. But our home purchasing power, your money is coming and going up, is increasing. Ours is not increasing at commensurate level, and yet the little we are even getting, the purchasing power has been almost eroded. So how do we just oppose that in line with what they have been saying, that the economy is on the right track? The economy is on the right track, or revenue generation is on the right track? That's the question.
Isn't that part of the economy?
It's just a fragment of the economy.
Well, it says on the path of full recovery. Based on your analysis, you seem to agree with him. That
Yes.
is generation. It is working on the path.
Yes, we can't fault that. We have seen the records. We can't fault that this government, I call it in Yoruba, kowope, and indeed they are doing very well in that area. They are getting anywhere they are going to get money. They get money every hour. Just yesterday I heard that now you can't even load your electricity bill for anything less than 5,000. So kowope indeed. Anything that has to do with that.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I just heard that from
maybe
you.
when you expend your present energy and you want to reload, you discover.
Real
But
quick, yes.
that's just it.
Before we go,
Government
to
is doing well in terms of revenue generation, but they need to make Nigerians do well.
So that means full recovery.
Yes,
It's not yet
that's
over.
where we know full recovery.
Okay, I need to turn to you. Of course, you have, based on what Bagudi is also saying, but you have a story in the Punch newspaper saying Nigeria's public debt hits 142 trillion naira as borrowing rises. And of course, that figure stands as of the 30th of September 2024 and represents an increase of 5.97% compared to what we had in June 2024. Is this good debt or bad debt? Looking at the direction the country is going.
Well, if we look at some of the debts that the government has taken over time, you will see that there are debts that are meant to ensure that they're able to implement the budget. Most of the revenues, just like I said, revenue has been boosted, yes, but even at that, most of this revenue, government still needs to go out, to go borrow money to ensure that the budget is implemented to the fullest. So for me, I think we might still be going to this part of what do you call it now, revenue, debt procurement and all of that. But for me, what is really important is, what are we doing with this debt we are taking? We must see tangible results from this debt, be it infrastructure, be it maybe our healthcare system, our telecommunication system, our roads and all of that. We must see tangible difference. You see, it's not about, yes, I agree with the fact that yes, revenue has been boosted, yes, but the question is, the leadership, have they been proactive? Have they been really creative in terms of using this revenue to touch the lives of Nigerians? Has our purchasing power improved? No, our purchasing power instead has dropped drastically. So we cannot really be excited about, yes, we are having so much debt, and our purchasing power is so bad and so low, and at the end of the day we are saying, we are celebrating that the economy is going to do well. How is that? I mean, for me, I don't see it yet. Maybe until such a time that the average man on the street can easily put food on the table, can get job, and then we have an economy that is much more buoyant than what we have, and then maybe our naira exchange rate is also far better. Then I would want to have this feeling of, yes, we are improving and the economy is getting better, and then that would be a justification for some of the debts that we have taken.
An interesting one there. Of course, one also looks at this, a situation where Nigeria keeps borrowing. And then you also have the president calling for debt forgiveness for developing nations. What does that mean to you? How do you see that situation?
Well, we can't. Asking for debt forgiveness is okay.
While you're still taking more.
Yes, you take more. You take more. Like he said, the important thing is what are the things we can see that you have expended this loan on. Then are you blocking the loopholes? If there's pilfering of the public treasury, and you're still getting more loans, and we're going to debt, then you can't guarantee that the money collected can be judiciously expended on what it was planned for. So what is the rate of delivery on the loans we are collecting? And those are the things even these our foreign creditors will be looking at, that how prudent have you been. That's one of the reasons why Obasanjo's administration, they have to go all out to create the EFCC and make sure that they make some people scapegoat to show that, look, we are really trying to prevent corruption. So if this government is looking the other way in the area of corruption, and you are telling our creditors to grant us debt forgiveness, you are suggesting as if they are not wise.
And interesting. And of course, we'll be opening the phone lines for your reaction. The numbers to join the conversation: 080 080 7777.